the new kit for United this season?
I want to get the blue one.
I don't buy kits no more, man. Nah.
I want to get the blue one.
I want to get the black kit for Liverpool. That kit is gold.
Yeah, that kit's banging. That kit's banging.
Why don't you buy kits though?
Boy, I stopped buying kits about 15, 20 years ago, man. I just don't buy kits. The thing is, at the moment, I haven't even got a pair of boots. I've only got AstroTurfs that I wear.
I got AstroTurfs somewhere, the messy ones.
Shoe size are you?
What shoes am I?
Yeah.
7.
You can have my Magistas if you want.
No, I don't play 11 aside no more, man. I don't play 11 aside. That's done.
Well, you're a 5-a-side demon.
What's your
five aside now, man. Yeah, just 5 aside.
Where
do I start? So
with the kick-ups. When did you become the kick-up goal?
You've been watching, yeah, the 2-touch.
Yeah, I see that on the Instagram story.
The 2-touch, yeah, the 2-touch king. But no, so like my football experience is, to be fair, it's mad. So obviously just like you guys, obviously started off playing in the parks. You know what I mean? Played against guys a lot older than me, and obviously for me that was good for my grounding in terms of being able to be pushed around, which I think when you're a young kid to play against men is good, because again it gives you that kind of grounding to let you know that you can't be taking liberties really. And for me, that's what kind of made me into someone that that was more driven to kind of put everything into it to become a professional footballer. That was the aim. I started off playing for my local team called Redbridge United. A few of the players there, obviously most notable, are well-known people in the media right now. That was my team from Sunday League.
Name drop, brother. What? You think you can get away with not name dropping, bro?
Yeah, come on.
To be fair, I don't really like name dropping the person, because to be honest with you, it's people that know me know that I'm kind of fucked me over in a sense. But obviously you guys have probably heard of a guy called Mark Wright from that program Towie. Yeah, so that was my age group there at Redbridge United. So we had a good team there. So we were rated the best team in the Essex borough. So we used to go all over the country. Used to played Bobby Charlton's School of Excellence in Manchester. They were a team that were unbeaten, and we went over there and beat them. And I started playing for them when I was about 7, I think. And then obviously the whole of our team all got scouted by pro clubs at the time. So I was at Chelsea. So I was at Chelsea for 7 years. So I was at Chelsea when they had Zola was in the first team. They had Glenn Hoddle as their manager. They had Roberto Di Matteo, Torre, Andre Flo, Petrescu, Albert Ferrer, all these kind of players. So I was there in the academy for 7 years. Even some of the guys that are part of Chelsea's coaching team now, I believe that are still there now as well. That are coaches, and my manager was the academy director of Chelsea now. And I'll say a few of the players that was in my age group there are still there now. So I was there for 7 years in terms of players I've played against and where I've played. So I've played at Stamford Bridge probably about 10, 11 times. I've played at Highbury once, Upton Park about 3 times, Charlton's Ground, the Valley, Amsterdam Arena, Norwich City's Ground, Carrow Road, White Hart Lane, Stade Velodrome in France. So I've had various experiences, played all over the country in different stadiums. I think players I've played against, I remember playing up against. So we went to a tournament in an area called Stoke. It's called Kiel University, and I remember all the best teams in the country. So this is when I was about 14, 15? No, but I'll say about 13 or 14. I'll say I think about 14, I'd say, yeah. So I remember we went to Keele University, all the best teams in the country. So you had obviously Chelsea, was us, Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham, Derby County, Man United, Arsenal. So yeah, Charlton, all the best teams from that age group in the country, and Everton were there as well. Now, bearing in mind when we was in our hotel, there was people talking about a player, and obviously back then I didn't really have an idea I didn't have a clue who it was, but I noticed a few of them because where the complex that we were staying at, all the teams would stay in and around, and obviously you just stay with your team. But I heard people saying, "Oh, you need to watch out for this guy called Wayne," and I'm thinking, who the hell's Wayne? Like, I ain't got a clue that is. And they were raving about this guy. And then, funny enough, we had Everton in our group, and then it's not until we got onto the pitch, and obviously happens to be Wayne Rooney. And let me tell you this now: not only was this guy technically superior, physically he was ridiculous. So. And it was an eye-opener as to what the level was. And, Rooney was ridiculous. I remember I went to go and bargain, and bearing in mind, I was quite slim in comparison to what I am now. And I went to barge him and I went flying. Like, he was that strong. Like, honestly, he was that strong. It was ridiculous. And the thing is, he didn't even try. But from a technical standpoint, he was on another level. Like, you couldn't get near him. I think they ended up beating us 4-2. And I think he scored 2 and had a hand in the other 2 goals, but the quality difference was stark. And then obviously you see a year later that he makes his debut for Everton. But yeah, he was an eye opener. But the best player I played against was probably Sam Nasri. So again, we went this is when I was at Tottenham. So I'll go into that in a minute. So I was at Tottenham and we went to a tournament in Belgium, and we had. And no, not Anderlecht. We had PSG in our group. We had Marseille, and we had the local team who were called Excelsior Mouscron in Belgium. And I remember we played Marseille, and again, didn't know too much about Marseille, but you find out obviously it was Sam Nasri that was playing, and he actually won player of the tournament as well. So he wasn't physical like what Rooney was, but his brain was just another level. We couldn't get near him. He was just getting the ball, moving it off. I think they ended up battering us like 5-0 or something like that. And he was just another level. And but they ended up getting beat in the semi-final. And in the final ended up being Anderlecht against PSG. And Anderlecht had literally 6 or 7 of the biggest guys you'll ever see in your life at that age. And they just won the tournament just through pure physical athleticism. You know what I mean? But in terms of that, so my experiences in football, in terms of who I played against and where I played, has been vast, really. I would say my regrets in football. So being at Chelsea, and obviously being that I'm 5'6", 5'7" now. Back in the era that I was playing, and obviously I'm left-footed as well. So Chelsea used to play, not even Chelsea, but the way football was back then, it was more of a 4-4-2 system. So it was never none of this inverted. So you'd have left footers playing on the left side, right footers playing on the right side. Now, bearing in mind that I was a striker, I used to play up front. But what they did is that they tried to play me, especially at Chelsea, play me from on the left as a left midfielder. And back when you're young, you're thinking to yourself, you want to be given a chance to play in your position because you're good enough. But obviously, whether it's politics or whether it's favoritism, a lot of these things that people don't actually realize goes on at these clubs. So Chelsea tried playing me there, and then basically they'll bring in players that were just physically bigger than me or a lot faster than me back then. But technically, I was superior to them, and pace-wise, I had good pace, but these guys were just ridiculous because they were more advanced at that age. Yeah. So in terms of what I could have done, I could have just got my head down and thought to myself, you know what, just play this position. And then as you progress through, you might get other opportunities. Back then, you don't really see that because you're quite young, you're quite naive to these things. And I would say like I used to sulk a bit because I just wanted to be given a chance to play in my position, which wasn't really coming. And again, it's because of the culture of this country in terms of how they see certain things. And then what I did, because of the traveling, I had to travel down to Cobham in Surrey. I had to travel midweek sometimes to Harlington in London, and the travel was a bit long, so I had a chance to go to Tottenham. And Tottenham, obviously, where they used to train, was literally about 15 minutes from my house in an area called Chigwell. So obviously, guy that I've mentioned already, his dad got me a trial at Tottenham. Obviously, they signed me within the first session from the age of 15. So I had a contract up until the scholarship stages. Now, if anyone knows obviously anything about the scholarship stages, obviously they're called YTS, Youth Training Scheme. If you're given a scholarship, you're more or less on your way to becoming a young professional, whether you do it at the current club or if you drop down to the lower leagues. Now, obviously, I was signed as a schoolboy at the time at Tottenham, and this is when they just signed another guy you might have heard of called Jamie O'Hara. Obviously, you might see him on TalkSport and that. So he was signed from Arsenal for £1 million. So again, he had his future sorted out. And again, he wasn't technically better than me. He was just more physically advanced than me. You know, he's a lot bigger than me, you know, and I say he's more physically ready. So then again, same thing at Tottenham. You know, they tried to play me as a left midfielder with the left foot because 4-4-2 system. And bearing in mind, you know, I give credit to my late father as well, who used to drop me up and down football. So he never used to come and say anything, really. He used to just come and watch me and just rely on, obviously, my own ability. So he could see what was going on. And the one thing he said to the coach at the time, obviously ex-professional at Tottenham, called a guy called David Kerslake, who was our manager. He said to him, you know, what's Gavin's chance of playing as a striker? And the first thing he said to my dad was, we've got 2 strikers of England recognition. So what that means is that the 2 strikers they had there, they were going to push them forward for schoolboy trials for England at that age group. Now, these 2 boys, hand on heart, were not better than me. But the difference was they had been there for a longer while than what I was. So I was starting at a point where I was better than them. Say again?
You're playing catch up, basically.
I'm playing catch up, basically. Yeah. And again, the whole thing of playing, because I'm left footed as well, playing me on the wing was easier for them to not upset these 2 guys, basically. And it turns out that basically, yeah, so the way that we used to get treated as well. So if you're not a favored player, they'll make you train with the younger age group, while the players that are favored will go and play with the older age group, basically. And these things were happening all the time. So I had to kind of prove myself, you know. I kind of got my head down and said, you know what, I'm just going to play that position, get on with it. And for me, I took a little notice in how much goals I was scoring. And it turns out I outscored both of them, and then both of them had more game time than me. And then I had to go and do. So, do you guys remember the whole work experience?
Yeah.
So my work experience, obviously, some people go and work in retail, whatever they might go and do. So my work experience was basically being a scholar. So being an under-17 scholar at the time, as a full-time player. So I'd done that for 2 weeks, and I kind of forced my way from the training with the younger age group, with the older age group, to forcing myself to get recognized by the coaches there. And I remember one of the training sessions, we had an under-17 game against the under-19s. So bearing in mind that I was 16? No, it was 15 at the time, going on 16. And we played the under-19 team, beat them 2-1, whilst playing for under-17s as a striker. And I remember the under-19 manager said to the under-17 manager, like, he asked who that guy, who I was. And he goes, oh, that's Gavin from the under-16s. And he goes, oh, he's good. Like, you should give him a chance. And that was my chance to get to play with the older age group, which we then played against West Ham on the weekend. And I remember when I got in early, so I got in about a couple of hours early. And I remember this was a time. Remember a player called Robbie Keane?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Robbie Keane was coming in for first team training, and I happened to get there early. And then, obviously, in his stiff Irish accent, me and him were just chatting. He told me, asked me what my name was. I told him, yeah, I'm from the under 16s, so I'm playing up for the older age group. And then me and him just started doing some keepy ups, And he told me, good luck, work hard. And for me, that was good because it's like, at the time, Robbie Keane was Tottenham's best player at the time, and to get that kind of vote of confidence from him at the time was good. So yeah, like obviously I played against West Ham. Obviously Mark Noble, who's my age group again, obviously went on to play for West Ham's first team. Obviously he played as well, and amongst a few others. But then yeah, so that was my experience at Tottenham, and then basically Tottenham released me from them, so I didn't get offered my scholarship. But then again, I won't really go into it, but they got rid of me in favor of someone that I've already mentioned, who wasn't at the club, whose dad kind of got me the trial, and yeah, he basically kind of fucked me over, really, in a sense, But then what happened is that when you get released from your clubs, obviously other clubs come in for you. So I had an opportunity to go to Burnley. This is when Burnley were in the Championship. Yeah. So Burnley come through with an offer, and they offered me a 1-year scholarship and a 1-year pro, which at the time I didn't really want to go travel that far, so I was more of a home person, and so I was trying to see if there's any other local clubs. So I got offered some other trials at Rushden and Diamonds, Southend, Cambridge United, all teams lower down in the leagues. Now, if you know anything about lower leagues, it's basically the lower down you go, the more physically ready they want players. And physically, I wasn't ready. Technically I was, but physically I was nowhere near ready to be pushed into the first team because obviously these clubs ain't got the money. So in a way, I went on trials to these clubs, didn't really get anywhere. And then ended up going to play a bit of Ryman football for Grays Athletic. I was playing in their under 18s, and then started playing for the reserves. I made a couple of appearances for the first team. And then, and then now obviously I play five-a-side football at Power League, so I've had a massive up and down career, in terms of football. And for me, I remember reading something, Mason Greenwood, he had a friend that was at Man City, and unfortunately this boy committed suicide. And when I first heard that story, I 100% related to that story, because if you haven't been at an academy or in that kind of environment, a lot of people don't realize what it's like playing for these clubs, because now it's a lot better. But back then, when you're released from these clubs, there's no kind of aftercare. So like these clubs don't give a shit about you. It's like they release you, and it's like you got to kind of find your own way. Yeah. And this is why having an agent in this day and age is important. A lot of people don't really like agents, but agents are key to look after your affairs. And again, as I said, with these clubs, they don't really give a shit about what you do after they release you. And with like the guy at Man City, as I said, he committed suicide because in his head, even like myself, schoolwork suffered, didn't really achieve in school because my life was football. My life has always been football. I watch football every single day. Whether I talk about it, whether I watch it, whether I'm playing it, it's my life. You know what I mean? And this guy that actually did commit suicide, I can kind of relate to him, because he's probably thinking, I've been at Man City my whole life. They've released me. What do I do now? And as I said, yeah, I can kind of relate to him doing that. But obviously there is a light at the end of the tunnel at the end of the day to kind of do something different, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now with this channel, to kind of speak my, like, give my opinions on certain things and have a voice, really, And that's why, like, with obviously like us guys, we have a difference of opinion on certain things, you know, which is good for the channel, but it's good as well because it's like I've experienced a lot in football. I've seen loads of players that I can relate to that haven't made it. And that's where when certain players are pushed, that's why I have a massive pushback because of what I've seen and what I've experienced, you know. And as I said, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but that's where I kind of get my pushback in a sense of how I view certain players. But yeah, no, like it's a massive experience that I've had. Obviously, a bit different to you guys, but
a bit.
yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.